South Africa's population estimate may be off by tens of millions. The ANC is struggling to pay its own staff, and shoppers are rewriting the rules of grocery spending. Look, there's a lot to take in, but that's why we're here. My friends, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into it. So South Africa might be far bigger than we think. You see, a township-focused fibre operator called Fibre says that its ground-level data points to a national population closer to 95 million, not our official 63 million. Now that's a 32 million person gap, basically misplacing the entire Australian population. Now the claim comes from an unusual source, a fibre rollout. You see, Fibre has physically visited more than 250,000 homes, used planning data for another 2 million households, and run aerial imagery, drone footage, and AI modeling across 39 townships. And in every area, they say the number of houses on the ground is almost double what official datasets record. And when they extrapolate that nationally, the number balloons to as much as 124 million people on the upper end. I mean, that's double our current population. Now, understandably, Stats SA wasn't amused. Officials say that the real population is 63.01 million, and that these novel techniques can't replace transparent demographic methods anchored in census data. One former head of Stats SA told Business Day that none of this can be taken seriously until Fibre releases its raw data and its proper methodology. But this debate isn't exactly coming out of nowhere. You see, Stats SA's latest census recorded a 31% undercount. Unemployment stats have been publicly challenged by business leaders, and the Statistics Council recently warned that high vacancies and a shrinking budget are undermining the agency's capacity. And so the question lingers, is Fibre wildly off? Or has South Africa been planning for a population that is far smaller than the one that actually exists? President Ramaphosa's party can't pay its own staff, and senior ANC members say it's not just about mismanagement, but about the price of transparency. We'll get there in a sec. So for at least the third time this year, workers at Luthuli House haven't been paid, with some watching debit orders bounce and homes and cars repossessed as November salaries once again failed to arrive. So some ANC members point to the Political Party Funding Act, which now forces parties to publicly disclose donations above 200,000 rand. ANC MPs argue that the law has scared off long-standing funders who don't want their names tied to scandals or factional battles. But even with 1.19 billion rand in public funding last year alone, which is the largest share of any party, the ANC's finances remain thin. And as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. You see, the timing of this couldn't be any worse. The ANC's National General Council begins next week, which is a gathering that requires funding for 1,600 delegates. And so all of this means that the ANC enters now a crucial policy meeting with unresolved financial pressures hanging over it. So South Africans are still feeling the pinch, but their shopping habits are shifting in ways that retailers didn't expect. You see, one of the biggest surprises here has been the slowdown of these store brands. You know, these are the house brands that you see on shelves, like Checkers' own peanut butter or Pick n Pay's no-name range. It's the products that these supermarkets make themselves because the margins are bigger and the products are cheaper. But you see, according to the NIQ's latest State of the Retail Nation report, their growth has slowed to just 3.1% in Q3, which is barely a third of what they were making this time last year. Now, what's replacing them isn't premium goods, it's smart shopping. NIQ says that households are still watching every rand, but they're getting more tactical, stocking up during promotions, buying in bulk, switching to lower price branded options, and just squeezing those rewards programs harder than ever. I mean, independent brands, the smaller non-chain labels, jumped 10.3%, showing that shoppers want value and products that they trust. Meanwhile, everyday spending is still strong. South Africans shelled out 167.5 billion rand on groceries and essentials last quarter, with volumes rising even faster than prices. And so the real trend here isn't a collapse in these store brands. It's a consumer who's become far more strategic than retailers bargained for. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, the US says that it won't invite South Africa to the 2026 G20, replacing it with Poland instead. Now, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, accused South Africa of tarnishing the forum and backing divisive agendas during the presidency. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela is facing backlash for bypassing both ANC's deployment and cabinet committees when nominating 18 new seated chairs. Party insiders call it the third time that he's sidestepped internal processes. And a worthy sports mention, Aiden Markram's century powered the Proteas to a record 359-run chase against India, leveling the ODI series 1-1. So make sure you cancel your weekend plans because the deciding match takes place on Saturday. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. This is the last one of the work week. Let's end it with a win. Let's see what you got. The question is, which chemical element is essential for making computer microchips? Is it A, lithium, B, copper, or C, silicon? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. And on to our Wildcard section. Imagine standing under a night sky in New York or London. You'll see stars, sure. You may even see a faint patch of the Milky Way if you escape the city. But you'll almost certainly never see its bright core. You see, for most northern cities, the galaxy's densest, most dramatic region hugs the southern horizon, buried in haze and light pollution. But cross the equator and the sky literally changes. Constellations disappear, new ones emerge, and the Milky Way stops looking like a faint smear and starts looking like a river of light. And that's because the galactic center sits deep in the southern sky, and so from northern latitudes, it's permanently out of view. And so South Africa sits in this sweet spot. You see, we're far enough south to see the core almost overhead in winter, but dry enough and dark enough that it actually shows up. And that combination is rare. It's why the Karoo hosts some of the clearest night sky research sites on Earth. And so when people talk about Southern Hemisphere advantages outside of the Springboks and the All Blacks, this is one of the biggest. South Africans can actually look up and see the heart of the Milky Way with the naked eye. And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is silicon, the element that turns sand into the backbone of the digital age. It's the reason computer chips work, the reason your phone isn't the size of a filing cabinet, and why the world's biggest tech companies end up building their empire in a place now nicknamed Silicon Valley. And my friends, that's it for today's show, and that is it for the work week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you guys will have a cracker Friday, a fantastic weekend. Go Proteas. We'll catch you all same time on Sunday evening. God bless.